part 3, and we are talking about TNA Sacrifice 2012, a
And
pay-per-view
bondage.
that I actually thought came out better than I was expecting. Ended up giving it a 2 out of 3. Uh, that obviously, if anybody knows, that translates to kind of like meh, yellow light sort of situation. But let's try to run this down real fast. Again, as we always do, not going to talk about move by move and all that kind of stuff. But pay-per-view started off with the tag team championship, Samoa Joe and Magnus losing to Kazarian and Daniels. So we have new tag team champions. Not a real bad start to the pay-per-view. Not a fantastic match, but it was decent enough to start and get the ball rolling. I think one of the reasons that it was halfway decent was the title switch. Just to get, if you start a pay-per-view off with a champion being crowned, it at least gets a little bit of interest to the rest of the pay per view, unless you do it in 18 seconds, so then everybody gets pissed off. But uh, I wasn't really a huge fan of Joe and Magnus as champions. I never really saw a point to it. But Kazarian and Daniels, at least they're working together, and they had a little bit of a build up with this. So hopefully they take that and go in the right direction instead of, I don't know, turning the baby face in a fucking week or something like TNA tends to do. What did you think about this?
Yeah, it was one of those where it was like I didn't really care too much about it. Kazarian and Daniels won the tag titles. Whoopie doo.
That's about it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Magnus and Joe, them losing the titles, what would it do for both guys? It would just relegate them down to lower card again. So fuck it.
Yeah, nothing more for Joe to do for this year, probably. They tend to
Apart
use
from
him once a
lose
year.
fucking weight.
Mm.
Well, I want to talk really. I got really too.
And we had the Knockouts Championship. Gail Kim retained via pinfall after having her feet up on the ropes, where the basic idea of the match was that Brooke was kind of schooling her. I don't know why she's necessarily getting a big push out of this, but this actually started one of the things about the pay per view that I thought was kind of odd. TNA tends to take one idea for their pay per views and do it in virtually every single match, whether it's everybody bleeds in a match, or there's interference, or the matches start by a brawl outside or something like that. But they tend to double up on these kind of things a lot. Like you might see a pay per view where half of the matches the referee gets knocked out, and that's always annoyed the shit out of me. And it started with this, where people start doing the other person's finisher, and Brooke tried to do Gail Kim's eat defeat finisher about like 4 times in the match. And I was just like, well, okay, it's something a little different. But then they had to continue doing that later on, and I'll get to that. But I thought the match was okay. Um, Brooke's actually gotten a lot better, and I bet WWE's kind of kicking themselves because she's marketable, and it's not like she's worse than some of the people that they've employed before in the past. Uh, thought Gail Kim would win. Not surprised that she did, but I'm surprised at how she won, where it was all basically to make Brooke look better. What do you think?
Yeah, they keep giving Gail Kim the win on these knockouts matches. It would have been nice if they tested someone like Tessmacher to see what she could actually do. For me, it's probably literally nothing apart from floating her tits about. But it would be nice to actually see if they could actually do something with her. But as far as the match goes, it was pretty solid for a knockouts match. Didn't really do much.
Yep.
It'd been easier if they just threw Mr. Anderson in there instead.
Through who?
Mr. Anderson.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Mr. Anderson.
Then we have the TV Championship, Devon against Robbie E, also versus Robbie T. Triple, well, it wasn't really like a triple threat match. For the most part, it was a handicap match, but then turns into the whole Robbie and Robbie T fight with each other. Devon capitalizes and wins. Didn't really like the match a whole lot. Don't really like the idea of Devon holding the title.
I
And
think
then the
Bully
whole
Ray should have that title.
you like him at that?
Right. Yeah, I think Bully Ray should hold that title.
Oh, Bully Ray. Oh yeah, I wish
Yeah.
that he did. It
Yeah,
would make more
Devon's
sense.
not really doing much with it at the moment, which I'm not very happy about.
Well, maybe we can get him to take it off of Devon and then start wrestling other people and all that. Because Bully
Maybe.
Ray's better.
Yeah, definitely. He's ways better, miles better at the moment.
Then we have Jeff Hardy versus Mr. Anderson. Again, not bad, not great. This was another situation where they had to keep doing the finishers on each other and all that. Anderson hits a twist of fate, tries a swanton bomb. Hardy hits a mic check and all that. Surprised that Anderson won the match because I figured this would just kind of be another boost up Jeff Hardy kind of a thing.
I
They,
did say Garrett Bischoff would have come in and actually destroyed them both, but it didn't happen.
I don't know what they're doing here with Anderson, but they don't seem to ever really commit to anything with Anderson, so I wouldn't be surprised if nothing ends up happening out of it.
Turns heel again.
Maybe. I don't know. They did hug after the match, so
Maybe he whispered some sweet nothings into Hardy's ear and then makes out that he's like a prison rapist or something.
new gimmick.
Yeah.
Uh,
It'd be like nails, but like extremely anal rapey.
Instead of the mic check, it's the oil check.
Exactly.
Then we have the whole situation with Joseph Park interviewed, and he says he wouldn't be surprised if Abyss appeared tonight, and he's made a bunch of friends in the crowd and all that stupid kind of crap like that. But Crimson comes out, says all he ever does is win, gets an open challenge. Something I felt was funny was there was a "We Want Steiner" chant going on at that time. uh,
It was boring and had no fucking sense to it.
yeah, and it got even more senseless when ODB and Eric Young came out, and Eric Young ended up challenging Crimson and losing naturally.
Eric Young is this year's Cody Deaner.
This year's, maybe every year. I don't know.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's a little bit of an insult to Eric Young. I like it better than Cody Deaner.
I like neither. I think they both should just literally fuck off.
Then we've got Austin Aries versus Bully Ray. Match of the night. Very good match, I thought. Uh, Story of the match was pretty good with the idea that Bully Ray was the tougher one, and Austin Aries kind of showed a backbone and didn't really give up when he was getting pounded. Sounds like it should be the Mr. Anderson gimmick, but uh, Aries eventually wins with the last chancery, making Bully Ray submit after he couldn't get him with a brainbuster. Um, Good match. Liked it a lot. Like I said, match of the night. I'm not really surprised about that either because I like Bully Ray and I like Austin Aries and I really, if I think Destination X is an X pay-per-view if I remember correctly. If that's the case, Austin Aries has to headline in some kind of way. I mean, I saw a little pay-per-view ad that said I'm the main event, so hopefully that's actually the case.
Well, I highly agree with you about Aries. I think both guys are really solid. It was a great match. Um, Best thing, the one thing I just wish it wasn't was on TNA. But yeah, so we can move on for that one, I suppose. But
Yeah,
I'm hoping Aries gets a push up to the television title eventually.
I hope he gets a push to WWE.
Yeah, apparently he's got a lot of interest coming at him for the Cruiserweight show.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
Although he should just be on Raw or SmackDown.
yeah, very much. One or the other. We'll see what happens in regards to his career, but he's getting a lot more sought after now than he was before.
Yep. Finally, the last two matches of the night: Kurt Angle against AJ Styles. Good match. More trying out other finishers and all that kind of stuff. Uh,
That's a death, though, man.
yeah, but it was still a pretty good match though. I didn't like it as much as Aries and Ray, but I still thought it was pretty decent match for probably second best match of the night.
Probably, yeah. Again, I can't really say much about it because I've seen this tons and tons of times again. Again, very solid by both guys. I just wish Angle would just literally take a time off and let his body heal rather than pop a few pills and go back into the ring.
Right. And for anybody that's interested, of naturally, Kurt Angle wins by submission after there was some kind of distraction between Kazarian and Daniels. Kind of saw
Tag
that coming.
champions going after a singles wrestler. What the fuck?
It's TNA. That's all you gotta say. Uh, Finally, the last match of the night, ladder match for the TNA Championship. Bobby Roode against RVD. Wasn't really
AKA
impressed.
past it.
Okay, what?
AKA past it.
I've said before many, many times, I'm not the biggest RVD fan. So I kind of saw a lot of this stuff coming right off the bat. And uh, I thought the highlight of the match was the confusion of the very end, where RVD jumps trying to land on the ladder and stop Roode from climbing, but he botches the spot, twists around the ladder, and they have to set up something different with him kicking him down and hitting his head on the chair and all this other kind of stuff. But that was the part that interested me the most, not the actual action, because I've seen the Rolling Thunder a bunch of times. I've seen, the well, with most ladder matches, a guy falls down, all that kind of stuff. So wasn't really interested. Wasn't a huge fan of it. Hopefully they don't have a rematch as far as I'm concerned.
Yep, same. I haven't done a rematch at all. It was an okay match, but again, nothing to call home about.
And that's it for the sacrifice results and review. If you want a little more in depth thing, little more in depth coverage of that, check the website. Now we're gonna go into Over the Limit and end this episode off after that. So check out part 4 coming up right now.